Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to another live broadcast. This is Walid. I'm talking to you from south of Baghdad. In our short video for tonight, I will be talking about a few recommendations for you to master your English conversation and become a better English speaker. Now, conversation in English is based on the principle of the number of hours that you speak. So, say, for example, every day, let's calculate that mathematically speaking. If you're talking for 100 words for 3 or 4 consecutive hours, all combined in Arabic, you need to make sure that you balance that with the same amount of speaking, with the same amount of vocabulary in English. If you go under that threshold, there is very high chance that you will stutter, hesitate, and not be able to express yourself and your thoughts in smooth, fluid, consistent, and straightforward way in English. Now, a very simple reason for that is the principle of mastering English conversation is based on the same principle of the number of hours that you speak. In order to speak more, if you need to master English more, you need to make sure that the numbers of hours that you have in English is equivalent to the number of hours that you have in Arabic. Now, I have a very simple rule for that, and it's a very temporary rule. It is called language fasting. Now, you have to minimize the number of words you say in Arabic and maximize the number of words you say in English. There are so many ways we can go about it, and around the idea that reducing the amount of Arabic that you produce will give a better chance for your mouth and articulation tools here to produce better quality of sounds in English. There's a little bit of clash of titans between the articulation of Arabic and the articulation of English in order to make sure that you maximize the level of your speaking in English. You need to consistently going through a heap of vocabulary and consecutive amount of hours to speak something in English for a number of hours every day for at least 21 days. Now, we get to the deadlock here of saying, well, there is no venue for me to speak English. There are actually tricks and hacks for that. First of all, the video that I'm doing it right now is a video to give you some feedback and recommendations and pieces of advice for you to speak English, and at the same time a good opportunity for me to speak and practice my English. You know, we are stuck in quarantine and there's curfew everywhere. So pretty much this chance is the optimal chance for you to master language. So there's no hack about it. What you can do, simply forget about the mirrors. If people tell you speak in front of mirror, that is absolutely ridiculous. I mean, unless you're just practicing for a show or for a role play or a play or something like that. You need to record yourself because the mirror has no memory card to record yourself and see how good you are, how bad or what can be done better. So what you need to record yourself in a phone camera or a digital camera, and based on this recording you can have a look at yourself. So you develop this sense of self-learning and self-reliance and self-development and also self-reflection. Okay, so there are 4 things: self-learning, self development, self-reliance, and self-reflection. These self things that we do in English will maximize eventually, and they will maximize your level of your what we call technically speaking output in English. Now, I am not going to talk about motivation, but what you can do is to listen to something motivational in English. You know, listening to something motivational can be anything. It can be, listening to a song, listening to music in the morning. I can give you an example here. You can just type up motivational music in English, motivational exercise music. This is going to give you a very good chance, to pump up your motivation, because motivation is something that we cannot measure by any kind of psychological or any kind of artificial rule or artificial gadgets that we have. So listen to this something. It's a kind of music I just came across in the YouTube. What you need in the morning, if you feel down, if you do not feel that you have the energy for today to listen to something or practice something, you can just listen to this for like 5 or 10 minutes. I guarantee you it is going to give you the the amount of adrenaline, or whatever we call in English, that some people call motivation, to carry on to the next. Like, listen to this. This is a very good song. You Can Be a Hero. I think it is called Hall of Fame. So you can be the best. Rule number 2 is the intensity of study actually sometimes trumps the length of study. Trumps يعني تعرقل. Trumps. Trump إذا تريد تحفظها فTrump يعني هو president. نفسه president of the United States. What you need to do is not to push yourself to the extreme levels of exhaustion when it comes to the exercise, because in this way your mind is going to develop a sense of immunity to this exercise and probably a kind of refrain from doing it. So give yourself a chance to enjoy and have fun with what you do, and also make sure that you do it with a sense of motivation and with a sense of where you want to be in the next stage of your learning. Classes in general are inefficient to some extent to provide sufficient training for speakers of English, for a very simple fact. If we have 12 plus students in the classroom, divided by the amount of time the classroom is going to, so if we have, let's do a little bit of calculations here. Now, I think the screen is too bright for that. If we do calculation that the students go for 2 hours, so 2 hours is 120 minutes, divided by 12 students. So every student will get only 10 minutes of speaking if we exclude the teacher. So it is crazy. Like, if you are enrolled in a classroom where you're paying hundreds of dollars, to get an English course, and you have 11 students with you, and you need to practice speaking English, because by the same token that 120 minutes, you're going there for 120 minutes or 2 hours of classes. You're only getting 10 minutes of speaking, which is really meager. It is really nothing compared to the amount of time that is required to speaking. So at least you need to speak for 1 or 2 consecutive hours 2 or 3 times a week in order to ensure minimal amount of speaking practice. So classes are inefficient unless it has minimal number of students and the teacher knows how and when to shut up and let the students take the wheel and, you know, start talking. Now, if you're a beginner of English, I hope this video will help you, because I'm just making it all in all organically in English for your listening. So there are 2 goals for it. You need to listen to me talking English and also learning some of the tricks to maximize the amount of vocabulary and the amount of speaking practice for you. Start with the most important 100 words in English or Italian or Spanish or German. The first 100 words are the fuel that will fuel your language for the next station where you are going to master language in a better way. Do not be afraid at all from making mistakes. Failure is the first stage of your language learning. So just grind and go on. Speak whatever you like, because ultimately those people who are laughing at your English will regret it later and be wishful that they've done something to their language. Carry a dictionary, a digital one, or a hand, something in your hand. But this is not an option right now because a lot of people actually have they have a lot of digital dictionaries in their phones, so you don't need necessarily to carry a pocket dictionary. It's a kind of classic thing right now. Keeping practicing in your head is not enough. I disagree with the fact that you need to talk with yourself. I mean, for sake of practice, you can go for tongue twisters. Tongue twisters are something we use in English for students. Let me write down some of them for you in the chat box so you can have a look at them. I think we've talked about it before, but just for sake of advantage, this is a list of them. You can use them to practice your English pronunciation. They are very beautifully done in a way that will make your pronunciation of English get better. So most of our problems in English come from the fact that we are afraid, psychologically speaking, of saying something stupid in English. Now, if you don't care and you want to be better, don't be afraid of saying something stupid in English, because this is something that is very common in English. We have a lot of faux pas in English. We have a lot of mistakes. We make a lot of mistakes, but educationally speaking, they're just sign of development. The word mistake is just giving the impression that you're doing something wrong, which is against the culture and norms and traditions, and eventually that is going to make you feel shy and hesitant, and ultimately not going to be able to produce the timed conversation or synchronous conversation with the person who's talking to you. So don't be afraid of saying a lot of stupid things. There is nothing stupid about anything that you say. The word, I don't know why we have this word stupid in dictionary, first of all. A lot of people actually have concerns about the accents. Accents are just accents, like what we have in Iraq and in Iran. Everybody speaks with his own accent. Actually, Arabic accent of English is very sexy for Americans, and I've heard that by myself. So don't worry about accents.
It's 12 o'clock.
Thank you. It's midnight. So don't worry about accents as long as you're producing meaningful sentences. Speaking with accents is just a matter of individualistic preferences. they're not that quite important. I mean, at least for people who are studying language and, investigating the phenomenon and this socio-linguistic distribution of accents and dialects in London or in England or in the British Islands or in the United States or in Canada or New Zealand as part of their master or PhD dissertation. So they are not important. Don't worry about accents. Maybe you can enjoy them, but not to the extent that you become so extremist when it comes to considering one accent superior to another, just like what people say about British accent as being superior or more superior to American accents. That is absolutely bullshit. That is not true. All accents are treated equally, and to a fair amount of good judgment, every accent is a geographic representation of the population of people who are speaking it, and it is not considered a tool to discriminate one language over the other. We have so many accents. Actually, accents are like biometric thumb, fingerprints. Everyone has his own accent. So you may come across a family where the parents speak the accent of the 80s and 90s, where their sons and daughters speak the accents of the millennium, or Generation X, or the people who were born after 1995, I'm going to emphasize also listening to audio, but a lot of people actually nowadays in this generation are more visualistic. I don't know if this is a word we have in English or not, but listening only to audio is not sufficient. I feel it, that it's a little bit boring. So what I do is maybe I find an audiobook and I bring the PDF and I mash them together and listen while following the lines. That can be better. Our generation is more visual, so we like to watch videos more than listen to audio or tape recordings. I don't know if that is available right now or not. After the first 100 words, I want you to be more conversational. You need to be more of a person who's outgoing and trying to put them together, piece them out and put them together. Like if you learn the word restaurant or friend or sister, you may be able to produce a sentence like, where is the restaurant? So piece them together and try to glue them together. If you learn the word movie, you may learn also, did you like the movie or did you love the movie? What movie do you like? These are very common questions in English we come across every day. If you want to sustainably continue and ostensibly learning something. The brain processes languages by default as something that is natural. So the brain is designed to learn more than one language. And the exception to the rule is the person who speaks mono language or a person who speaks one language. In the world, any person who speaks two languages or more, what we call them bilingual, are the norms, like the regular verb. The person who speaks one language, we call them monolingual. They are the exception. So if you speak one language, you're an exception case. You're not the regular case. The brain is designed to speak more than one language. So you need to understand that and build your development process based on that. One-on-one tutoring is the best and most efficient method of learning. It is better than taking classes with 3 or more students. This is based on my experience. So you need to only have one tutor and work on, language with one tutor, because that is going to give you a better chance and a wider range of flexibility when it comes to speaking. So probably if you agree with your tutor to speak 80% and he's going to monitor you for the 20% and give you feedback, that is ideal, you know, if we have something ideal in English. Google and Facebook and other applications are really important as well, so you need to keep that in mind. Make sure that you learn a word a day and maximize that every day. So every day you need to have a good amount of nutrition for your brain. You maybe learn 2 to 10 words. Also, you need to watch a movie or a TV show consistently for the amount of curfew or quarantine. Ambiguity is part of language. You know, language is an ambiguous creature. It's an organism that lives in the society. So if you feel that there is a little bit of ambiguity about language, that is absolutely normal. If you misfire or miscommunicate with people, that is absolutely normal. So don't worry about it. If you feel hesitant, if you feel that you hesitate, you stutter, you do not produce a good quality, but in your mind, you produce the sentence, but when it comes to the articulation, you have difficulty, that is absolutely, absolutely normal, you know? So in order to feel more comfortable with yourself, you have to have a confession with yourself that I'm okay if I make mistakes. I'm okay if I miscommunicate. I'm okay if I feel that part of language is ambiguous. You know, this is absolutely normal. And if you get to that level of comfort with your language and with yourself, you would be able to skyrocket, you know, in language. You will spearhead your peers and your friends when it comes to making your language better and improving your language skills. That is absolutely something that you need to get to with your language. Your language is just a tool, and the tool is divided into 3 parts: the software and the hardware. Okay, so sometimes when we talk about the software and hardware analogy when it comes to language, we always have this analogy because some people do not have any problems with their software installed in their mind from the cognition of the society and the combination of their learning strategies. But when this software is sent through neurons to your hardware, which is the articulation system, the articulation system is not equipped enough. It is not trained enough to speak the language. So you go through the process of stuttering, hesitation. Hesitation and not being able to produce a very good and efficient sentence in English is a result of lack of practice for hours of English. It is not the cause of your inability to speak good English. No, it is a result. So a result of lack of practice. So if we go back to square number 1, which is practice, 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 or the triple P rule, you need to absolutely master that and distribute it over a course of time and then follow it a day by day. I need to stop talking now and give you a better chance to have some sleep and or watch something. Thank you so much. I do not want to go beyond the 30 minutes threshold. So have a wonderful and lovely night, and I wish you sweet dreams and God bless you all. This is Walid talking to you from south of Baghdad. ربي يحفظك.